Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Swaim Strategies, a consulting firm dedicated to nonprofit fundraising events. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristin Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello, and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we are all headed up. We have been on a journey for the past couple of weeks, and we have been talking about a frame that Dr. Paul Zak introduced to us in the first two episodes of this season. We actually replayed them over our holiday break because we felt like they were such an important frame for us to build off of. And as we continue talking about the importance of bringing people together right now, the importance of gathering people, being in space together so that we can create trust and a shared sense of belonging, and ultimately build safety nets around our organizations, we have been sharing stories of how the SIRTA framework developed in the book Immersion by Dr. Paul Zak can be applied to any gathering that we're hosting to really transform that gathering to a moment that builds a movement. And when we think nonprofit fundraising events, we think nonprofit events in general, we think that that is an important element of how do we make it that the brain can connect in a way that people want to be involved and be invested. So if you haven't been listening, there's a couple of sort of steps I would encourage. One, we have two great episodes of Paul Zak. Check them out because he explains his research.
And they're charming and interesting. They're not wonky, sciencey.
No.
Like, I think sometimes people go, oh, geez, Dr. Paul Zak. He's amazing. He's story-based. He's a lovely human.
And I find him just to be
he's charming.
A really inspiring author,
yes.
too. We've applied a lot of the learning from him, but we then had an episode that was just really teaching what SIRTA is.
Yep.
SIRTA. It's an acronym. We're going to walk through all those elements today. And then we had two episodes that were non-fundraising events, but gatherings nonetheless that are totally building movements.
Yep.
And so we wanted to frame that an event can be an opportunity to build a movement. It does not have to be a gala.
Correct.
Today, we're going to dive into learning events.
Yes.
A lot of our nonprofit friends have learning events, conferences, lecture series, educational curriculum, bring people together in space to learn. Sometimes it's about a current cause. Sometimes it's about the work they do. We have a learning event coming up next week. We have so much work to do, but the Elevate conference is 1 week away. And I'm so excited to host so many of our listeners at the Elevate conference this year. If you are not already registered, what are you waiting for?
You can join us online.
You can. So we want to encourage folks to join us in a learning environment, but we wanted to use it as an example today to talk about how to apply SIRTA to a learning environment because so many of our nonprofits are already hosting learning events. So let's start first with SIRTA. Kristin.
Sure.
What is it? Where did it come from? Why? What it? Tell us all the information.
Yep. I do feel like SIRTA should be the new 2026 Elevate/Swaim t-shirt.
Yes.
Right.
Oh gosh. Now I need to go print t-shirts.
Spell it, say it loud often for your friends. So SIRTA acronym, first S, staging.
Yes.
So this is how you create psychological safety and physical comfort for folks in your stead. We're going to dive into what this looks like at Elevate in a minute, but this is just the recap. So S, staging. I, immersion. This is how you get focused attention, emotional relevance. This is your storytelling, people.
Yes.
For those of you looking for someplace to make impact, it's in your eye. R is relevance. How do you capture the brain? How do you make your message sticky in a way that they leave with it?
Make it matter.
Make it matter.
Yeah.
T is your target, having the right people in the room for that message. A, action. This is where you release a call to action for people to be able to participate. And all of these components together, staging, immersion, relevance, target, action, when you have them present, this is how you move your mission forward. Yeah. This is how you create a gathering that activates a community, is these pieces working together to create an experience for the guests at your event. Dr. Paul Zak, like we were saying, an amazing neuroscientist who really believes in the power of stories.
Yeah.
And is interested in what makes people act And as fundraisers, we should be deeply curious about this because we are asking people to act in so many different ways on behalf of the missions that we represent. So we will link the Paul Zach episodes in the show notes.
Yes.
We will link the other non-event events in the show notes so that you
non-fundraising
events, so that you can sort of see this progression of ideas and how it works. We have found that this frame, SIRTA, confirms everything we have known in almost 30 years to be true about events. It's sort of like when you have this inkling, this hunch, and all of a sudden somebody names this thing and you're like, that's it. SIRTA is it. It is the frame that we have come to understand is what makes events deeply transformative and connects people in community, in movement, in action for missions. I want to talk about Elevate now.
Okay.
Because Elevate on its face feels like, conference.
Right.
What happens when we apply SIRTA to a conference? How do we see it play out?
Okay, so first of all, Elevate is a very meta event, right? Because
it could not possibly be more so.
Right. We produce it as a tool for the nonprofit sector to learn how to better mobilize resources through gatherings.
Yes.
Oftentimes in the nonprofit sector, we have seen this dynamic at play where a board member, a volunteer, leadership member goes to another organization's event, comes back and says, oh my goodness, they mobilized 1 million volunteers. They raised $1 million. They had 1 million sign-ons and endorsements to their legislative agenda. And they come back and want to replicate what they saw. And that replication often leans into, we're going to replicate what was served as the food. We're going to use the
same venue.
Right, the same venue. Yes. We're going to use the same centerpieces and decorations. And yet it's missing this SIRTA model. It's missing the fundamental strategies, behavioral science, and neuroscience behind what actually mobilized people for your mission.
Yeah.
And so in the nonprofit sector, one of the challenges we're trying to solve for is how do we get out of, they did it this way and it worked, and also get out of, but we've always done it that way, and move to what's going to best serve our mission and move our mission forward right now. And that is what Elevate was designed for. We're in our 8th year. I am so excited about the speakers that we have. We have incredible experts on the stage, all answering this question, one single question, one overarching narrative about how do we mobilize events right now as the tool to create resources where we bring people together and have a shared mission, have a shared vision, a shared language, and really turn our movement or turn our event into a movement.
Yep.
So a couple of key things happening at Elevate for folks who haven't heard about the Elevate conference. It is March 3rd and 4th. It is a hybrid event. We have keynote speakers Mallory Erickson, Frank Velasquez Jr., Chirian Koshi, all incredible leaders in the sector, all asking big questions right now about how do we do it better? How do we continue to grow? This is an event where we really try to model best practices, and we call out and name some of those best practices so that you can see it in action. We also have incredible partners that are in the room, and we look to our sponsors and our vendors as resources that are true solutions for our nonprofit friends. So what you'll find there are our partners like Avenue, where the event is hosted, the AV department, who produces our podcast and produces all of our events, auctioneers galore, including Artisan Auctions, who's one of our longest term partners, Feather to bring you marketing resources, Greater Giving to bring you software tools. This is the audience and the resource married together in one room. And for those who are tuning in from home, you will be able to see all of the content that is on the main stage. You will get a deep, rich schedule, 2 days of deep learning, as well as getting a whole bunch of additional resources we've curated. So we've asked every single expert to bring additional videos, additional webinars, additional trainings, and downloadable tools, templates, so that people have a place to start. But we are diving this year into not just how to get the auction bid, right? We will talk about auctions, but we're diving into neuroscience, data-informed decision-making, storytelling, sponsorship, how to secure more corporate partners through your sponsorship program, planning, design of your event, fundraising strategy, matching gift strategy, paddle raise strategy, and so many other things, all in this deep 2-day period intended to ask, how do we make the best of your event to mobilize your mission forward? We also, I want to give a shout out and thank our sponsors that have stepped up and said yes to scholarships, because we think access is really important. And our partners at Arpeggio Digital, On Point, Northwest Natural have all joined together and are sponsoring a number of our tickets, including a lot of our virtual tickets. So we hope folks will see that this is no barriers. Come join us. Register if you haven't already at Swaim Strategies and click on that Elevate Conference button to get yourself all set up. But let's go meta today, and let's use, and I say meta as in the definition of the word, not the company. Let's dive into how this event can then reflect SIRTA so that other people who are planning learning events, educational events can also do that application.
Yeah. I think here we are like, SIRTA, it's amazing. And it is.
Yes.
But we're also super cognizant of the fact that folks are like, I am holding on by my knuckles.
Right.
And have a lot on my plate. Let's sell SIRTA a little bit about what's the why. Like, if folks are like, my event's fine. It's doing what I needed to do.
I'm busy.
I'm busy. Why would I recalibrate how I'm thinking about what I'm doing? Why SIRTA? Like, why this framework for folks to think about their events?
I think, one, it's very actionable, right? So it's not a theory you have to figure out how to put into practice. It's very actionable. Also, it is diving into making sure that the brain is ready for what you're trying to accomplish. So one of the pieces I struggle with often is when we put so much time and energy into events, how do we make sure we're getting what we need out of it? This does that. It allows your guest to be ready, to be present, and to walk away with the thing you're trying to get them to grasp onto. Additionally, it maximizes your outcome. It improves guest satisfaction. You will hear, if you apply this framework, you will hear from guests, this was the best event. They cannot tell you why. It's like all little things that they never notice, but it does make it that when they leave the room with a message. And so they leave telling other people about your mission, your work, and what you're doing. So I think that it is something that when done well, the guest doesn't necessarily notice it, but it allows them to just slide in and feel comfortable. We've been to lots of events, you and I, and we've seen when it goes well and what doesn't go well. How do you see it like really taking learning events to the next level?
Yeah, I think I hate defining things by what they're not, but I think sometimes in this way, it's easier to name the things that are not SIRTA informed, that are not creating that space. I think, when I think about the quickest thing that pulls me out of something, an event, specifically an educational event, is not feeling like there's anything there built for me. That I have been engaged to be there and be a participant, but there's not been consideration for what I would get out of it, or anything that's applicable to who I am and what I'm doing. And that comes down to, am I in your registration database when I walk up to check in? Is my name spelled correctly on the name tag?
Okay, now you're going into staging. So let's go into staging.
But that's the initial thing I think of, because I think often people feel like those are, I know we didn't get it right, but they'll get over it. But that means I walk in not as immersed.
Not as ready.
And not as ready as I could have been. I think, too, about, having folks on your stage who aren't speaking in a way I understand. That's not literally language, although it could be. That are talking in a way that assumes information, especially in an educational context. When I think of a conference, when people are talking at me, assuming knowledge I don't have, are using acronyms and terms I have no idea what they are, and aren't taking that step back to bring us all along. And I think those are some of the pieces that are really big as registration and programming. It's also I'm an introvert. You've asked me to come to an educational space for 2 days. What is there for me during break time to fill my cup?
Yeah.
It's great that you want to set up chat time for folks, but are there ways and things that I can do to get a break from? Did you just give me permission to step outside? Great. Just thinking through the diverse range and what that is and how we're engaging people. These are big, broad swaths, but I think really quickly when these aren't in place, people start to feel
yeah,
how am I here? How am I going to be here for another day?
Yeah.
How am I going to do this?
Yeah. Should I go? I think I might go.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though you may have saved your most amazing speaker for the very end.
Right.
If I haven't been brought along, I'm not going to actually probably be there.
All right. So we're going to dive further into that. You did a beautiful segue into staging. We're going to start there. But first, we'll take a promotional break. And when we come back, we're going to walk through how we're applying all of these things at Elevate.
Great.
We'll be right back.
Ready for your hard work to yield more funds at your next event? Join us at Elevate, a nonprofit fundraising event conference designed to bring our community together and make planning successful events easier. Register today for this hybrid conference on March 3rd and 4th, 2026 in Portland, Oregon, or join us online from anywhere. This isn't just another conference. You'll walk away with battle-tested strategies, hands-on tools, and proven templates that top fundraisers use to raise millions. Your mission deserves fully funded success. Register today at swaimstrategies.com.
Welcome back. Y'all just have Sam and I today. That should be cheers and uproarious applause.
Were you waiting for an applause?
I was. I think it could happen. We are talking about SIRTA, Paul Zach's acronym for Immersion.
Yes.
And we are talking about it with relation to our conference, Elevate, and how people can take SIRTA out of the box of the gala and apply it to all kinds of events. And so let's dive back into the S of SIRTA, which is staging. It's a lot of things. It's the prep.
Yep.
It's how you are ready for guests to arrive, how you communicate to them in advance so that they show up dressed for the occasion, literally and figuratively, right? It's when they get on site that there's signage and wayfinding so that they know where to find you buried in the labyrinth of the convention center or wherever your event may be. Clear indicators during your program. This is what's next.
Yep.
This is what we're doing so that I feel like I'm brought along on the journey. Anything that answers the question of the guest, what are we doing? Where should I be focusing my attention? What is expected of me?
Yes.
If we eliminate all of those as questions and just make them as a flow for the guest, there is no friction. This is about removing friction so that people can ease into your experience. When you provide that for folks, their brain's ready.
Yeah.
Their brain is not spending time and energy doing all of the other pieces to get them there and ready. And when your brain sees clarity about where it's supposed to be and what it's supposed to do, it doesn't have to be on high alert. It's not looking to manage your needs in that way because it understands they're being taken care of. It can focus and you can be ready to learn.
That is a key element, right? And especially in a learning environment, we're asking people to come and be attentive. There is a direct brain response to each of these elements. So staging, the direct brain response is when staging exists and it's done well, the brain can calm down. That is it.
Calm the F down.
Calm the F down. Because it says you are safe.
Yeah.
Right? You are too. We're frequently, when we're on an event site, at or near the point where people are entering and welcoming folks and attentive to registration lines and how people are getting into the event. Have you ever seen someone come in the door and then pivot on their heel and walk out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that sometimes that speaks to, oh, shoot, we didn't prepare that person in some way to be here.
Yep.
And sometimes it's that everyone else has something that they don't have, they're all walking in with their laptop and, especially in a learning environment, and they're like, oh, I have to go get that. Or they came feeling like, I'm not dressed to be here.
Yes.
I didn't know that this is what the dress code was, whether it's like everyone's casual and they're like super dressed up or vice versa. So that staging basically is the like, you can calm down, your brain can relax, you are safe. And I think safety is an important brain chemistry because it also then allows openness, right? It allows connection.
Yep.
So at Elevate, this is being applied through a couple of different pre-steps. What are some of the things you're working on to make sure our audience is like ready for participation?
I think it's thinking about all of the questions in advance. We have an FAQ that we've built into the website that we're putting in all the pre-event communication so that if folks feel like they have questions, they have a resource to go find answers. We've also made it that if you're not getting your questions answered, please reach out, and trying to build that rapport from the jump that this is a place where we want to make you comfortable.
Yeah.
So that it's hosted. You know, that feels like somebody is holding that space.
So for anyone who's coming to Elevate, they can rate us on these things, right? So
this might be the worst idea of a podcast episode ever.
I know, right?
But
I'm very aware that there's going to be some judgment there.
Yes.
But there is, like you said, an FAQ page that has a lot of answers on it. We will be sending out 2 communications in advance to all of our in-person attendees and a separate communication to all of our virtual attendees that explains where to park, how to get there, what food you're going to eat, what to come prepared for. For our virtual attendees, it's going to explain what the schedule is, how to get logged in, who to call for tech support. So we'll send those communications in advance, but when you arrive, we'll have signage out front, we'll have signage in the door, we'll have greeters in the door. We're going to make sure that your name is on the list. And when someone walks in the door and their name's not on the list, we'll have a plan for it so that there is still that feeling of being welcome. And we're also going to make sure that every time there is that transition moment where we tell everyone to take a break, that we will not only tell them what time we're returning back to programming, we'll have it on the screen for guests. So that
we will also come back at that time.
And we'll come back at that time. So staging is a really easy thing with very actionable items that you can apply to a learning environment that just makes it that people come ready to learn.
Yep.
All right. We also pre-register all of our attendees. So we're not just a free-for-all walk in the door. We love to know that you're coming so we can expect you. We have pre-printed name tags for guests.
Yep.
And also we're always thinking about how to build in inclusivity as well. So we're thinking about things like communicating in advance what we provide in the way of captions and in the way of seating, and then also opening it up for people to tell us what they need. We have a unique environment, though.
Yes.
It is a hybrid space.
Yes.
And so we also make sure that not only do we leave space and ask all of our speakers to leave space for questions, we also build in that there is a moderator in the room that is watching the online chat and bringing that voice forward and bringing those questions forward. But at every learning environment I've ever been in, I've always left with additional questions that there wasn't time to answer in a session. So we also have the opportunity for people to give us their questions that will feed additional content for us. So we'll generate out of that Substack articles, best practices, and we'll follow up with each of those folks to make sure that they feel like they got their questions answered. So we're really building in all the ways that we can to make sure that folks are ready. Let's dive into the next one. So that's staging. Let's talk immersion. Immersion is sort of the big umbrella we're hoping for. But where does that show up in our events?
So I equate immersion with storytelling.
Okay.
And this is how you get the brain to connect to the ideas and say, this is valuable.
Yeah.
This is all the things that we talk about around storytelling, about starting from a place of why. Things are important. How to create a single narrative throughout the event. How do you do that in an educational event? Well, you already tapped into it, is that we have a theory and an idea of connective tissue between all of the sessions and a thread that is getting pulled through by both the practitioners on stage as well as the MC. We script every word of the event so that
every word of the MC.
Every word of the MC. So that there is that thread that's being pulled through for folks so that they they can see how the pieces are building upon one another and create resonance between them so that the brain goes, I get it. It's been said to me 3 different ways through 3 different lenses, and I'm starting to get that now. The content includes research and best practices behind the recommendation. We have specifically put folks on the stage who are experts, and I don't mean that in a like capital E expert, do what I say, but practitioners who have been in this space practicing and doing fundraising events and things as they intersect with fundraising events. Not somebody from outside the sector who has this lovely idea that may or may not apply.
Right.
Here we go. Let's see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
These are all folks that care very deeply about fundraising events for the nonprofit sector and want to see them shine. Case studies. Mm-hmm. So actually showing what this looks like in development departments with development folks across the country and bringing a diversity of voices to bring their experience and what they have done and taken and learned. That often is the quickest shortcut to the sticky, right? Is a story. We use a variety of things. We've got a DJ. I love DJ Avalanche.
Yep.
Stringing things together, engaging different parts of the brain, creating connective tissue and fun and humor and lightness and joy, but also using video during presentations, thinking through the multiple ways people learn.
Yeah.
So it's about video. It's about people reading things, but also people, getting up there and engaging and looking across the space and having conversations with people. We have things happening on stage. We have things happening at roundtable discussions. We have things happening during lunch. We have a variety of different ways for people to be taking in information in ways that may speak to them. We have shorter sessions, so 15-minute, 30-minute, 45, they keep modulating so that it's not just like, here's your hour-long session, here's this, right? Like, how do we keep things, I know it sounds weird, but surprise and delight in the programming and the sequence of things can really make a difference. Q&A in every session so that the audience feel like their voice is important and can be heard. Those are just some of the ways that we immerse people and utilize. I think storytelling, we just think about sorry, an alarm going off. I think sometimes when we think of stories, we only think about one person on stage telling their personal story. But I think us expanding the idea of what story looks like and the story of your stage over the course of the day, how all these interlocking pieces go together, what build you're making, what that sequence is. We were looking at the program sequencing and I was like, gosh, this feels weird. And all of a sudden we realized we didn't have an afternoon break on one of the days. And all of a sudden, like the air came back into that. And that's a story on the stage and how all that's coming together. Let's go to R.
Okay. We also ask all the speakers to sit and be participating.
Yes, that's huge.
Because I think then they can tie and reflect to other speakers. Because I think it's hard when you go and you hear one thing and then the next session another thing and they're not related to each other. It's like, how do you decipher that? So a thread, I think all of our learning events are better when our educators are all participating in it.
Well, and all of the educators are really fans of one another.
Yeah.
It's a community of people on that stage who have worked with each other for a very long time, whose ideas inspire each other. I learn as a practitioner, I learned so much from the folks on stage, but I also learned so much from the folks who were there giving us their time.
Yeah.
And hearing their stories and what they're doing and what's working. And so I think it's about everybody coming off the stage and seeing each other as an opportunity to learn from so that the whole sector is better.
So staging tells our brain we're safe. Immersion tells our brain this is valuable. Now we're going to go into relevance, which tells our brain to pay attention. Yes. So I think with any good, solid educational event, there's 3 key elements that we have to have incorporated on our stage. One, there has to be inspiration. Yes. You can't just give people tools, right? Without the inspiration, you leave feeling like, it was fine. I was missing something. you also have to have tools and best practices that can be applied immediately. Without that, people leave like, well, what do I do with all this? Right. Like, it's just a lot of ideas.
I have a full notebook. Thank you. Now what?
Now what? So you have to be able to have both the inspiration and the tools. Yep. But then the most important thing is it has to reflect the audience, right? Like, I have to see myself in the speakers on the stage.
Yep.
If I'm sitting there in the audience, I have to feel like what they're talking about is what I need. It's relevant to me. It's specific to me.
Yep.
So we do this in a couple of ways. One, we vet all of our speakers and sponsors. We want to make sure that they're all aligned on 3 very particular points. One, they have to be targeted toward our central mission of the entire gathering. Why are we gathering? To provide great solutions to our nonprofit partners for their events. So while some of the speakers also speak on other topics, they're bringing their expertise from an events frame.
Yep.
So we vet first that they're subscribing to the core tenet of why people are in attendance. The second thing that we do is we bring experts that have tangible tools and resources so that they're not just bringing a best practice or an idea. They're not just floating it. They're not just practicing it for the first time. They're actually bringing you an application. And in some cases, people have really put together fantastic resources that are like downloadable checklists and tools that you can apply.
Yep.
And then third, we always make sure that they subscribe to our values of inclusivity in their work and an equity lens in their work, because we feel strongly that an event is an invitation in. And so we have to make sure that in that we're being specific and relevant to the audience by inviting them in, right? So it's a mix of resources and speakers, but it's also a mix of people having different learning sort of styles. And we want to make sure that we're bringing different education styles to the table. You and I both teach in a very like sort of teacher format where we bring our best practice tool and answer questions. But we've also brought folks that are more sort of workshop oriented to the table. Inclusive, we're also thinking about how that relates to interactive, so that we're trying to be thoughtful about what's the easiest way to participate at home, but what's a way that we can see folks participate. So in a hybrid format, there will be times when what's in the chat happening on the virtual side is also seen in the room so that the conversation is a universal conversation. We also include Q&A. We also are doing a follow-up in the Q&A that we will have other tools that people can have immediately right after the event. So the Gala Toolbox is a partner of ours, and you will have the opportunity to download those tools and apply them immediately. And in addition, as an Elevate attendee, we're launching our office hours through our Substack community, and that'll be a place where a lot of the questions that were unanswered get answered. So if you are attending, you don't leave there going, now what? You leave there going, here's what I need, and here's how I can get it. So really making sure it's relevant. S-I-R, let's dive into T.
T, target.
Okay.
This is about having the right people in the room.
Yes.
And for Elevate, the right people comes down to 3 types of people. This inspires the brain to engage, to take action, to be involved. So who is the audience you're teaching? Who is speaking? And who is sponsoring?
Right.
And I think that is a little bit different than some educational formats in that there is real consideration for the community that's being built. We're one room.
Right.
We do not have breakout rooms, breakout sessions. The vendors are not in an exhibit hall down the way.
Yeah.
We are all in community together for
intentionally.
We have built an intentional community of practitioners, of businesses who are also practitioners, and of frontline fundraisers. And we are all looking to make each other's work better. And so I think that reciprocity, that two-wayness, creates a very different alchemy.
Yeah.
And so we are looking for people in all 3 of those components who that is comfortable for and want to be a part of that. It is, we are not looking for people who don't want to be in community for 2 days, who don't want to talk to each other, who don't want to share what they're up to and learn what other folks are up to. It's a different space that way. And so, and in doing that and hitting that target and having those people in the room feels different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very specific. It's all the things, right? Like it's relevant to me. It's immersive in its nature. I feel prepared and ready to learn. I have had the opposite flip of that, where I've gone to a learning event, specifically in the fundraising sector, where it was communicated that this was going to be a learning environment specific to fundraising. It was like a big bucket learning environment. And when I went, I learned that it was actually all about planned gifts, which I learned something. Like, that was fine. I learned something from it, but I kept finding myself looking for, like, I'm still missing all these pieces because I thought I was going to something that had a bigger bucket. And I don't remember, but I don't think I actually stayed for the whole. In fact, I think I left after day one because I realized once I got there that this was not my audience and this wasn't relevant to me.
And I think, sometimes
I was not the target.
You were not the target. I think it's often about explaining that to folks because, especially in this instance of Elevate, we take time at the top and in pre-event communications and in the marketing information about the event to try and make that clear to folks so that they understand, when I'm on the stage talking about a vendor partner, the idea is not that that's a solicitation for folks. It's that they understand that there are folks in the space who approach video storytelling for nonprofits with a very ethical lens and are producing work for them that's responsible to the storytellers, and that does exist. And so I think by having clarity for the audience about who's on stage and why and what that choice has been, everybody gets on that train.
Yeah, taking it outside of Elevate for a second, just to another conference experience that we've had. We were working with a higher education group, and there was a learning environment where the central core idea, the tenet throughout the entire conference, the focus of the conference, the purpose of the conference was increasing graduation rates. And we were the planner at the event. And one of the misses that we had at that event is that we had this thought leader, leading expert, bringing the best resources around change management, right? So you get all these ideas at the conference. How do you then apply them? This was going to be the connector that we thought was the application, the bridge. But where we missed having him specifically align and speak to the target audience is that he wasn't bringing any examples that had to do with increased graduation rates or even any examples having to do with higher ed. He was talking from a political lens, and immediately we lost the audience. And so that idea that when you bring people together for a learning environment, sticking to what do we want people to learn has to be kind of the frame that you build within.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the last of the SIRTA model. We'll be right back.
Change. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens on purpose. Thanks to nonprofits that believe a brighter future is not just possible, but needed and deserved. And that connect people to causes and turn moments of generosity into movements. That's why Bloomerang is built for purpose. To raise the bar on what's possible and help every act of giving lead to more. Because when the bottom line is a better world, no goal is too lofty. Bloomerang, built for purpose.
Welcome back. Sam and I are here today talking about Dr. Paul Zak's SIRTA frame with respect to the Elevate conference, which is coming up so soon.
It is.
We have gotten to SIRT.
SIRT, S-I-R-T.
The SIRT of SIRTA. Sam, let's talk about the A.
Okay. The A is my favorite part.
Of course it is.
It is, because the A is the action. So here's the interesting thing to me. Action identifies as how do you invite people in? What's the action they can take? In most fundraising events, which is the world you and I live in most often, that is an ask, a paddle raise, a request for donations. But it doesn't have to just be that, right? Sometimes it's an ask to volunteer. Sometimes it's a call to action to endorse a ballot measure. Sometimes it's a call to action to sign up for a future program. But one of the challenges I think in the nonprofit sector is that there is this model we've developed of, is this a friend raiser or a fundraiser? And when we identify this as a friend raiser, that we're simply trying to build connection and relationships to people, people then leave out the fundraising piece, but then that means they leave out the action piece.
Yep.
And here's the challenge with that. Action is the thing that gives the brain satisfaction, that gives the brain relief. So in Dr. Paul Zach's study, what he found was without the action, there is a sense of wanting more. There's a sense of feeling incomplete. Mm-hmm. I experience this all the time when I go to an event and I'm like, but what do I do about it, right? If you are a nonprofit and you're educating me about the issues at hand, but you don't give me a way to impact those issues, even a $1 donation, a text to show your support, give us a thumbs up if you believe this is true, or clap along if you think that this is worth investing in or being a part of. Without that call to action, if you just talk at me and you never have that call to action, I am never a part of your organization, and I'm never offered the opportunity to be a part of the organization. And sometimes it's hard to convince a board that we need a fundraising ask. I want to stretch here to say every gathering should have an ask of some kind,
right,
because we need that pressure relief on the brain.
Yep.
So in a learning environment like Elevate, there are so many ways you can incorporate an ask,
yes,
right?
Yes.
In this particular conversation, because our conference is talking about fundraising events, we're going to model a lot of those asks, those fundraising asks. We're going to give a lot of demos and best practices that invite people in. But in a learning environment, there's a lot of other ways. You can invite people to be a part of a conversation, invite people into standing up and sharing their stories. You can include space for Q&As. You can ask people to sign on to or become a part of a cohort after the event, or endorse a legislative initiative associated with this work. You can ask people simply by signing off with, when you leave here today, we hope that you take the knowledge you learned and apply it in some way. But there has to be that call to action, that invitation to take action. So I think it's a missed gap so often, and is the actual secret sauce to people leaving there feeling, oh, that was worth my time. That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I feel so excited. Mm-hmm. Because so often I'm attending events that I'm there because I want to learn something. I'm there because I want to be a part of something. Mm-hmm. I'm there because I want to make a change. And then I don't get invited to be a part of any of those things. And I feel like, why did I waste my time? It's such valuable time. Life is short. I don't want to go sit through a lecture for 3 hours and never have a way to be a part of that solution.
It's
or that work.
It's the resolution of a sequence.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the, I'm going to say this terribly, but it's the denouement, right? Like it's a kickoff. It's an active action piece. But if you've done all of these other things, it is actually what you're building toward.
Right. I think it's inherent a lot of times, and people believe that, oh, we don't have to say it because people will understand it, right? We just talked about all of the challenges around graduation rates. Right. So we just assume people will now go do something with that.
The world would be so much better if everybody just said the thing.
Right. Which is, when you leave here today, here's what we need you to do. Or here's how to apply this to your work.
It's an invite.
Yes.
It's an invite in.
And that allows people to feel like they're part of something.
Yes.
So when nonprofits are planning events of any kind, I feel like the biggest opportunity you have is that gathering is your invitation in.
Yeah.
And so if you don't give people that next step, that next action, they're not a part of it. They're not in.
That's right.
So learning environments, fundraising events, all gatherings of any kind, even simply a dinner.
Yep.
Having dinner with friends there's an opportunity for that action, that call to action that helps people feel like they're making an impact. They're a part of this and they belong here.
That's right. Sam?
Yeah.
It's time to step into the elevator.
Okay. Fundraising elevator where we're all headed up.
We have some big work. We're going to go keep on keeping on to apply this for Elevate for sure. As you step into the elevator, what is your advice for folks around SIRTA?
I would say apply it. Leverage this model because it is something that can be a checklist. And even if you don't do all the things, you can do some of the things, right? So even if you don't set all of your possible potential staging up, the fact that you simply welcome people is a step in the right direction, right? Little actions toward applying this model, I think, can make it that all the hard work you put into fundraising events or any event is impactful. In this moment, as we sit here in March of 2026, and we're looking at a lot of pain, a lot of headlines that are scary, a lot of attacks on people, a lot of concern about what's coming. I know that in our history, gathering is the root of every single social justice movement. Gathering is the root of every single language, and gathering is the root of every single change for good. Bringing people together to feel like they are a part of something mobilizes. Yep. I would say if the first thing you do, gather. The second thing you do, apply SIRTA as a framework so that your gathering has impact.
Yep.
What about you? Stepping into the elevator, what is the one piece of advice you would leave people with?
Yeah. One step before that. Mm-hmm. Really get clear on your why for the gathering. Because I think that then provides the frame that you are applying SIRTA to.
Yes, agree.
So what is it that you hope to accomplish? What is the thread? Mm-hmm. Because once you get that, all the pieces hang off of that and start to flow together versus having competing priorities. Yeah, you can still apply the SIRTA frame, but you're still going to have competing priorities and it's going to feel that way.
Right.
If you really isolate and get clear on the why for the gathering, it will inform, and those other pieces will very naturally and easily come from that space.
So at the Elevate conference, our why is very simple. We want to make fundraising events easier to produce, more effective for your mission, and total movement builders around and mobilizing people around your work. So we hope people will join us. It is next week, March 3rd and 4th. Crazy. We have so much work to do to get there, but we are going to get there. You can come and evaluate us on how well we did on our SIRTA. Let us know what we missed, because we will miss things. Let us know what we missed so we can improve and grow. For folks who want to register, swaimstrategies.com, click on Elevate Conference, and you will find that we have virtual available so that you don't have to make last minute plans to travel to Portland. You can join us virtually. And if you join us virtually, you also will have on-demand access to all of the sessions, so you can always come back to them as well. We hope that folks will get their name on the wait list if they want to join us in person, because we are sold out at this point, but we have had a number of sponsors continuing to open up a few seats if they're not using theirs. So put your name on the wait list if you want to be in person. Register to join us virtually if you're not able to travel to Portland. And apply this frame going forward to all of your gatherings, whether they're learning environments, fundraising environments. We hope that you can continue to gather and bring people together around your mission. Thanks, Sam.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced by Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by John Collier. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Friends, before we leave you, we want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please follow, subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, please share it with a friend and leave a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.